Hi, and welcome again to St. Luke's Radio. I'm Chaplain Opal Moyer, and instead of Redemption the Rooster today, I'm with my daughter Rachel. We're here to talk about spiritual warfare and deliverance. We had done an earlier broadcast a few days ago with Pastor Lee. This is part 3 of the series. My daughter Rachel would like to share her testimony of her deliverance a few years ago. Rachel, some of your memories are vague of some of what happened, but you still remember quite a bit, don't you?
Yeah.
And what would you like to share today?
Well, I'd just like to share my experience and share how God helped me through this bad experience. And I guess I should start from the beginning, I guess, how it all started. I guess it started back when I was in high school. I had met a friend of mine, and he was into the occult and what is known as Satanism. But he was like different. He wasn't mean or anything. He was a really good person. And we had gotten close and became good friends, and then he had died in a bad accident. And it really hurt me when he died, and that's when I started blaming God for everything that went wrong in my life, and I blamed God for taking him away and stuff like that. And that's when I started looking up the occult and all this other stuff, and I would look up stuff on the internet. They had websites, they had books. I would really just get anything.
Okay, so that's how you started. When did you notice things were getting worse? When did you notice the presence of the demonic?
Well, I had done spells and stuff in my room by myself. I always hid it from people, and I kind of kept it a secret for a while. And the first time that I did realize that something was wrong was after I had done this certain spell. That after I had done it, I felt like something was wrong, like I did something that I wasn't supposed to. And after that, just things started happening. Like, my mood would change all the time. It was like all the negative emotions that you can feel, and I was feeling them all at once. And it was just a terrible feeling, and I didn't know what was going on with me because I thought things were going pretty well in my life and everything. So I don't know why I would start feeling this way, and I started seeing just kind of like these dark shadows moving around the place.
I know the whole family did notice these shadows, that black mist, and I know that at one point your grandmother even mentioned having seen a face on the black mist, in that mist. Now, when Pastor Lee and the guys came to help you, did you have any inkling that they were coming?
No.
No. I know we had deliberately, one thing you were doing was doing a lot of running away at that point in time. And So we kept that date because we kept that date secret from you because we were afraid that if you found out, if those things, if what was in the house found out they were coming, that maybe you would run. What actually compelled you to run?
I don't know. It was just kind of all the time. I felt like I had to just leave. And there was always something kind of in the back of my mind telling me, just run, just go. And there were times where I didn't even realize that I really left. I would just be walking somewhere and be like, why am I here? Why am I walking around here when I should be at home or be someplace else?
I know we had the times that you did run, that you always did come back.
Yeah.
We always assumed that you were running to get away from what you had pulled in here, that you were afraid of it and that you were running to get away from it, and not realizing that it had told you. Now, there were a couple of occasions where you and I had a couple physical scuffles as a result of it. Now, I believe we mentioned in part 2 with Pastor Lee that a lot of what you see in real life, as far as demonic attacks or possessions, it's not generally what you see in the movies. I did actually witness Rachel contort at one point, and it was at one time during one of the 2 scuffles that we did have during this time, where she was trying to run, and I had her actually pinned to stop her, and her back was facing me. Her back was towards me, but yet her head, her face was almost facing me, yelling at me, cursing at me, to let her go. Do you remember that?
I remember it just very vaguely.
Now, there was also another physical scuffle that we had. This was actually shortly before Pastor Lee and the guys came. Do you remember that one? You came home from school, you were very angry. I had caught you getting ready to run again, and I had sat you down to talk about that, and I had also been afraid you were going to hurt yourself, so I had actually, because of the nature of everything that was going on, the whole family was afraid she was going to hurt herself. So I actually had taken the locking mechanism off your bedroom door, and after we were done talking, you had stormed up to your room and started slamming your door repeatedly. And I went up to try to stop you. I ended up having to push my way into your room. And during this scuffle, you went back against the wall and picked up a stool you had in your room. And you were holding that legs towards me like you were going to run at me with it. And I was just standing inside the doorway, and we were just kind of at this like, almost like a little face-off thing going there. It was, nothing happened, but this picture came off the wall, fell off the wall, hit me from the back of the head. First it was the glass side where the glass covered the picture, went down, flat down on my head, broke the glass over my head, and then it went again. Did you see anything when that happened, or do you remember?
I didn't see anything, but I saw the picture just kind of move off the wall. And then...
Did you see it hit me twice?
Yeah. And I had felt, well, it was kind of like when I was like holding that stool, it was kind of like I could see out of my eyes, but I couldn't really control what I was doing, kind of feeling. And when I would yell, when I would get angry like that and like yell, it was almost like it was an uncontrollable yell. Like I couldn't control it.
I know you did do a lot of yelling at that point. You did yell a lot of, you did curse at me a lot, and the rest of the family. What was going through your mind though did anything go through your mind in that instance when we were scuffling like that? Was there any thoughts? Was there anything specific you were thinking?
Not that I can remember, but I just remember just being really, really angry.
Mm-hmm. A lot of anger involved.
Yeah. And there were times where I would be by myself and all of a sudden just this, it was more like a rage than just a regular anger. It was like enraged, and I would throw things in my room and end up breaking things. And the one time that this happened, I don't know why, I was just so angry, and I drew a pentagram, like the satanic pentagram, on my mirror. And after the rage kind of died down and everything, I was looking at myself in the mirror and I saw this, like, it didn't look like myself. It looked like just this old person, like, not like a regular old person, but like just this, I just saw this horrible face, but I knew it wasn't me.
Now, there was other stuff that affected you. I know that there were a couple of times when you actually couldn't actually sit in church.
Yeah.
There was an occasion where we had gone to the Christian bookstore. Do you remember that?
Yeah. I remember when we had gone, I remember there was this one section where they had all kinds of crosses and decorations with crosses and stuff. And I remember I started feeling really nauseous. I felt sick. And I started sweating really bad. Like, it got really hot. Like, the place was air conditioned, but I got really, really hot. And I started sweating. And as soon as I left, it went away and I felt better.
I remember that day because I know I was astounded just at how you looked at those wall crosses, and you just looked frightened almost as you were looking at these crosses, and you could not wait to get out of there. And the thing of it is as time went on, as you moved further into your deliverance, I know that you actually purchased yourself this, and I'm not really, I think it was after Pastor Lee and the guys came to talk to you, that you had purchased some Christian articles later on, that bust of Christ that you have up on that wall shelf that you have.
Yeah. And actually, at one time, I think I have like little angel statues and stuff like that.
Yeah, and you
At one
you acquired
time,
more of them after your deliverance,
yeah,
even, and you have a cross hanging on your wall now.
yeah.
I'm sorry, what were you going to say about your angels? Just that you had,
Yeah.
that you purchased some, yeah. Which was a big step, but that meant a lot when you started um, looking to brighter things and less dark
Yeah.
things, and uh, now one thing we were talking about on part 2 with Pastor Lee was he made mention of you not wanting to look at him right away, but eventually he got you to look at him.
And I don't even really remember him asking me to look at him. I don't even remember not looking at people.
You looked pretty awful that day, but you didn't let us see your eyes. In fact, you never let us see your eyes through the whole thing. I was really surprised that you gave in and looked at Pastor Lee, showed your eyes to him, because even the day that happened with the picture, you were sitting here, you were sitting at our dining room table with your hands over your face. You would not look at us, no matter how we asked you. We demanded you to look at us, and you wouldn't. Um, did you have any do you recall any motivation for that?
No, I
No?
don't recall.
I didn't know if anything told you not to look at anybody, or if you had a sense of not to look at anybody.
It was more like a sense.
A sense of not to look at anybody. One other thing that I think I thought I'd like to I thought about too, that we talked about in part 2 with Pastor Lee, was the the fact that your friends seemed to notice a difference in you when the demonic took over you, and they saw a difference again after. I mean, you've mentioned that they noticed a difference in you after.
Yeah, they said that I was more myself again, like talking to everybody,
and that was that was important. I think that was just a big turning point for you. How did you feel after? I mean, I was shocked the day that they came to learn that you were somewhat reluctant to get rid of what had you.
Yeah.
Because, and I didn't know this, but apparently, in some way, shape, or form, this was actually impersonating your dead friend.
Yeah, for a while I did think that it was my friend that died, but I remember I had a dream, and I was sleeping on the couch that night, and I woke up, but it was kind of like I was half asleep, half awake kind of feeling, and I looked around, and there were just these cloaked figures standing in a circle around me, and in the middle was my friend, but he looked different. I mean, like, I was glad to see him, but he looked different, and he was giving me this dirty look.
And that's what made you think that it was
I
him.
thought that it was him, and I thought he was mad at me for doing something or something like that, or trying to tell me something, but now I realize that it wasn't.
It wasn't. That's the thing about the adversary. It will try to deceive you.
Yeah.
He's the deceiver. He's the prince of lies, and I'm just glad that you came to see that.
Yeah, and it's easy to get tricked by those lies and everything as well. Like when you do these spells, like for a while, when I was doing these spells and everything, I thought, oh, this is going to make my life better, or oh, this is the shortcut for something. Like they have these spells on like how to make money and how to make your life better and stuff like that and get things that you want. But it doesn't work. I mean, I've done it and it doesn't really do anything.
Here's a question for you. Comparing your life when you were performing spells to try to make your life better, as opposed to prayer now. Is there any comparison there that you observed? Any obvious difference?
When you pray for something, I mean, God is listening to your prayers, but they might not happen right away. Or He might do something different because He'll know that that would be a better direction for you to go in life rather than maybe something else that you might want. And spells don't really do anything. It's just kind of, I guess it's kind of all in your head in some ways, that you think it's going to work. But it seems to me that I think that prayer definitely works.
So you've experienced answered prayer in your life now since.
Yeah. And every day I have conversations with God. Like, I think everybody can have conversations with God. You just have to find a quiet place. If you don't like praying out loud, you don't have to. I mean, you can just talk in your head to Him.
Although personally, I myself, I'll go through, sometimes throughout my day, I'll talk to God. I'll just, like He'd be in the right, well, He's with you, but you know what I mean? Like I'd be face to face with, like I'd be face to face with Him and just having a conversation too.
Yeah.
I remember when you were a little girl that you used to write little letters to God. And I'd find them outside. You must have put them out out the window. The wind, hoping the wind would carry them to God. And that was a big difference from the girl I had seen a couple of years ago. Now, when Pastor Lee and the guys came to talk to you that day, when they left, did you notice a difference then already?
Yeah. It was a big difference. It felt like a weight had lifted off my shoulders. I didn't feel oppressed anymore, because I was definitely feeling oppressed by something. But that all went away.
How do you feel now with God in your life?
I feel a lot better. I feel like I'm able to do more. I just feel like I don't.
Free?
Yeah, I feel more free, and like if I'm having like a bad day, or even if I'm having a good day, it's nice to just sit down and talk to Him. I mean, you can't physically see Him, which some people might not understand, but there's reasons that we can't physically see Him. And I mean, I think that He can hear you, whether you're thinking your thoughts to Him or you're speaking them out loud, because He's certainly answered prayers that I've prayed before in some way, shape, or form. And there's also, there's like a quote from the Bible It's from John 12:46. And it's Jesus saying, I have come as light into the world so that everyone who believes in me will not remain in darkness. And I kind of, when I saw that, I was like, that makes sense to me, because when I was in darkness pretty much, because I was being oppressed by these entities, and I was depressed and angry and everything. And when I found Jesus, I guess when I was saved and everything, it's like a light came on and I wasn't in the dark anymore.
Amen. I definitely notice a difference in you. I've noticed even positive change continue in you even up until now. Now, sometime later, when I used sometime later, you had some issues yet for a time after Pastor Lee and the guys came and talked to you, and you did have a couple of issues where you almost did fall back.
Yeah.
Now, a very wise young fellow did tell me that the occult can be very addictive, especially if it appears to work.
When you think that it's working, maybe like little things will happen in your life that you think, oh, that worked. It does become addicting, but it's not worth it. Even like just like little things that happen, is it really worth it to go through all that, having these entities in your house that try to take over your home and your life? And if it weren't for God intervening and bringing Pastor Lee and the guys into our lives, I may not be here, probably, depending on what happened.
That's how I feel. You were very, at that point in time, you were very stubborn. We weren't getting anywhere with you. I think it was a good thing to bring somebody else in to talk to you. And really, there's no magic spell that cures anything. The thing I find amazing is prayer, and the way God sometimes answers those prayers. They always work out for good.
Yeah.
Whether it's directly exactly what we ask for or not, it always works out for good. Our lives are always, and whether we see it or not, our lives change for the better as a result of God's answer to prayer.
Yeah.
Now, there was, and I thought this was, I've always been fascinated with this because you had that dream. And I felt, well, before we go there, some months after Pastor Lee and the guys came, you decided to become baptized.
Yeah.
Now, can you tell me the difference of how you felt even then, before you went under the water and after you came up out of the water that day?
Well, when I got baptized, I felt like that was the ending to it. Like that was closing the book, kind of feeling.
Did you have any, and I'm not sure how I want to ask you that, Did you have any fear before you went under the water? Was there any last doubt?
I thought, should I really be doing this? But then it changed. I thought, no, I definitely want to do this.
Because you did it before you, because there was, how many got baptized that day you got baptized? Was it 5 or 6?
Yeah.
Ahead of you?
I think about, yeah.
And you were at the end of the line, and I was a little afraid you were going to run.
Yeah.
You looked a little scared, and I was afraid you were going to run. But I think I noticed the biggest difference when you came up out of that water. It was like you said, it was finished. It was the closure, really. Now, and this was after your baptism.
Yeah.
You had that dream, and I always thought that was kind of a positive little note afterward that came along, and I was really grateful that you shared it with me when you had the dream. Would you mind sharing that dream?
Well, I had a dream that I was in my room and it was dark. Like there was like a darkness. And I saw all these like horrible faces coming out of the walls. And my bedroom door, it was shut, but it was banging like there was something trying to get in. So I went to my door and I was trying to hold it shut to keep these things from coming in. And I heard just this angry yelling, like demonic growls and stuff like that. And I saw like this really horrible face coming out of the wall, and it kind of had like snakes around it and stuff. And I looked up and I saw my bust of Jesus that I have on my shelf. And I looked up and I just kind of saw his face appear, and the room got brighter, and these faces in the wall, they just got like this scared look on their face, and they just disappeared, and the banging on my door stopped, and the yelling stopped, and I just heard this voice say, "You don't have to be afraid anymore." And I definitely think that was just God telling me, Jesus telling me that,
You're safe.
If I stick with him, that I'll be safe and these things won't come after me.
Mm-hmm. He'll protect you.
Yeah.
Yes, that was a long journey.
Yeah.
Now we have a little time left. Would you like to offer any advice to anyone who might be listening that might need a little advice? Anyone who's thinking about dealing in the occult, anybody that is in the occult?
It's something that you don't want to get into because it might feel good at first, but it's gonna eventually, there's a price to pay when you dabble in that kind of stuff. And it doesn't help. It never helped me. It just brought me problems, especially with the demonic. They want to bring you down. They want to try to take your life to make way for them to make a possession, I guess it's called. And it's a horrible experience if these things come into your home, and it's not worth it to get into the occult because you don't know what you're doing. I didn't know what I was doing, and it's just best to just leave it alone if you don't know what you're doing. If it's just not it's not worth it. Just let it go.
And my advice to anyone, any parents, anyone who has someone that they care about, that they know is dabbling in the occult, if you suspect that they are under the influence of demonic, I just recommend don't give up. Do not give up on them. It's hard. Rachel gave me a run, but in the end, it's worth it. If you can get that person to find Christ, be delivered, it's so worth it to just not give up. One thing I did, and it used to agitate her at times. If you remember, Rachel, I read the 23rd Psalm many times. I read various. I had some particular. Scriptures that I would read out of the Bible, and most effective that I found were the 23rd Psalm and the 91st Psalm. Seemed to be, in fact, the 91st Psalm was the one that used to really infuriate her when we were going through this, and yet it would alleviate her for a while. It would relieve her for a while. Do you remember that you used to get angry?
Yeah, right. I remember when you would read it, I would just get this angry feeling.
And yet, also, you and your sister always slept better during this time. Yeah. I would actually read the 91st Psalm over, both of them, before I went to bed at night. They might have been asleep, they might have been awake yet, but I'd always read it over them before I go to sleep myself. And that always seemed to give us some peace at night. It's just so important not to give up, and keep the scripture and prayer in your life. Try to pray with with any person that you care about, that you suspect. Offer testimony to them. Anything you can. Just do not give up. Was there anything you would like to add? Well, we have still a little bit of time.
Oh, just that I'm thankful that God brought Pastor Lee and the guys into our lives, and that I found God again. I'm definitely thankful for that, because it's much better with him than the adversary. The adversary is just going to lie to you and just tell you things that aren't true, just to get you on his side for a little bit, and then, because it even says, like, in the beginning, in the book of Genesis, that when the devil tempted Eve, he was jealous of people, because we're made in God's image, in God's own image and everything. And you just gotta think, if he was so jealous of you, would he really want to help you as well? He's just not good.
Well, if that's that all you have to say right now? Yeah. Okay. Well, then I believe we will close right now. And till next time, we'd just like to say goodbye. by, and God bless you, everyone.